Introduction to Graphs. Linear graphs. Here we have a graph. Observe this graph. The graph shows the changes in the temperature at a particular place in a week. In this graph, days of the week are plotted on the x-axis and the temperature is plotted on the y-axis. Here we have another graph which shows the changes in the temperature at another place in a week. Compare the two graphs. Both the graphs are line graphs. In the first case, the graph is a straight line. It is said to be a linear graph. A line graph consists of bits of line segments joined consecutively. Sometimes the graph may be a whole unbroken line. Such a graph is called a linear graph. To draw such a line, we need to locate some points on the graph sheet. We will now learn how to locate points on a graph sheet. Location of a point. Suppose there's a dot in a paper as shown here. How will you tell the position of that dot? We can say the dot is in the lower half of the paper. But this does not tell us the exact position of the dot. How can we then determine the exact position of the dot? Let's bring in a number line to help us find the exact position of the dot. Now, with the help of the number line, can you identify the exact position of the dot? As you can see, the dot is approximately 5 units away from the left edge of the plane. But all points on this vertical line are 5 units away from the left edge. Hence, the above information alone does not specify the exact location of the point in the plane. What we need to determine is a unique position on the plane that corresponds to the exact position of the dot on the plane. So, one number line is not enough for us to determine the exact position of the dot. We need another number line that is vertical. Notice that the two number lines intersect each other, so that 0 on the horizontal line and 0 on the vertical line coincide at a point. This point of intersection is denoted by capital letter O. Now that we have a horizontal as well as a vertical number line for reference, let's try to determine the exact location of the dot. We know that the dot is 5 units away from the left edge of the plane, and it is also at 3.5 unit distant from the bottom edge of the plane. Thus, with the horizontal and vertical number lines, we could determine the exact location of the dot. Coordinates. The horizontal line with numbers is called the x-axis and is denoted by OX, and the vertical line with numbers is called the y-axis and is denoted by OY. The x-axis and the y-axis intersect each other at O, which is called the point of origin. We mark the location of the dot on the plane with a pair of numbers. Here the pair of numbers is 5, corresponding to the point on the horizontal line or x-axis, and 3.5 corresponding to the point on the vertical line or y-axis. We put a comma to separate these two numbers and we enclose these numbers in the bracket. These numbers that represent the unique position of a point on the plane are called the coordinates of that point. The first number corresponds to a number on the x-axis and is called the x-coordinate. Similarly, the second coordinate corresponds to a number on the y-axis and is called the y-coordinate. This plane on which the exact position of a point can be determined is called the Cartesian plane. As you've seen in this coordinate system, each point is uniquely defined in a plane by a pair of numerical coordinates. The Cartesian plane is named in honor of the French mathematician René Descartes. He revolutionized mathematics with the invention of the Cartesian coordinate system. There is an interesting story about how he found this system. Once when René Descartes was lying on his bed and watching the ceiling, he saw an insect. He tried to find the exact position of the insect on the ceiling. Then he found the coordinate system which was named Cartesian coordinate system. How to plot the points on a Cartesian plane? Let us learn about that now. Plotting points on the graph sheet. We will use a graph paper for our Cartesian plane. A graph paper has horizontal and vertical reference lines. Let's draw the x-axis on a horizontal line and the y-axis on a vertical line on the graph paper. Now, let's put in a point A. Can you determine the coordinate of point A? We know that a point on a Cartesian plane has two coordinates. The first coordinate corresponds to a number on the horizontal line or x-axis, and the second coordinate corresponds to a number on the vertical line or the y-axis. Point A corresponds to 4 on the x-axis and 5 on the y-axis. So we write the coordinates of point A as 4, 5. Now let's learn how to plot the points on the Cartesian plane. Given a pair of coordinates, let's plot the required point. Here the x-coordinate, which is the first coordinate, is 2. Therefore, starting from 0, we go 2 units along the x-axis. The y-coordinate, which is the second coordinate, is 4. So we then move 4 units along the y-axis. Thus we arrive at the required point, which is the intersection of coordinates 2 and 4. Observe this graph. Some points are plotted here. Let's join these points. Observe that these points lie on a straight line. Now let's consider the points shown on the graph. As you can see, these points do not lie on a straight line. Thus, if we obtain a straight line after joining the points, then it will be a linear graph. Let us summarize what we have learned. A line graph in which all the data points lie on a straight line is called a linear graph. A Cartesian plane is used to plot points and draw graphs. Each point on the plane has two coordinates. The first coordinate or x-coordinate corresponds to a number on the x-axis. The second coordinate or y-coordinate corresponds to a number on the y-axis.